Welcome. If you like this content, if you want to see more of it, I implore you to hit the like button down there, the subscribe button, get your notifications going if you're into that, and possibly hit up the Patreon and become a contributing member to make all of this possible. Right now I'm bankrolling my entire operation. I ain't got that kind of scratch anymore. So if you feel like giving a hand, getting some free swag, and seeing more of the content you want to see, I suggest getting involved. Hey, this is Comfortable Lies, and I'm Harry Felker, and welcome. Today I'm going to tear into somebody completely new. Yay! The person will remain nameless, not so much to protect his identity, because he's obviously there's something fucking wrong with him, and he deserves the disdain that he is about to get, that he doesn't know that he's getting, because I refuse to use his name because I don't want to give him any more popularity. I had to watch his video a few times and take notes, and I am not about to send everybody on the planet to his page to go and give him more views, likes, and get him more money. So there's that. I will refer to him as LL Not So Cool J, but he is not alone. There's literally a laundry list of pseudo-intellectual psychopaths that are roaming the internet that prescribe to this this idea. So the whole idea of the Sigma male. Apparently this has been a thing since like 2015. I've done some extensive research into this whole thing. Unfortunately, all of the scholarly research that I did into this thing, you know, looking into psychology and psychiatry journals, I came up completely dry. Generally, 99.999% of the people talking about this happen to be relationship counselors, indie bloggers of no particular educational bar whatsoever. Even relationship counselors, it's really just an online relationship counselor, which means you don't really need any type of, it's not a educated position. It's I decided this is what I'm going to do, and people are giving me attention, which allows me to sell ad time on the internet. So basically, LL Not So Cool J, the reason why he gets so much of this is because this is how I learned that this was actually a thing. Let's be clear here, it's not really a new thing, it's just a rebranding of something that's really fucking horrible. Just putting that out there. He drives around in his car with his dog in his backseat, giving him all of the street cred of whatever he's trying to portray, while driving around an upper middle class neighborhood in suburbia. So he talks like he's from the street, but he definitely doesn't live like he's from the street. So I don't know why putting on that false persona and then advertising that that's nothing what you're about. Most of the other videos, it's just it's either just video where it's just like straight pictures plastered over this guy talking, or in the instance of one of them, it was just some dude walking around where he was at and talking about it under the video with the audio from the video completely muted out. So what LL Not So Cool J does is he outlines basic narcissistic traits and claims that they are a feature of his particular personality type. So he basically says, hey, I have this personality disorder, but I'm going to treat it like a feature, not a flaw. Generally, this is a really bad idea, because then, you know, you obviously need help because you have a personality disorder, but you're never going to seek it because you don't treat it like it's a disorder. You treat it like it's a favorable condition. And I guess in the sense of really toxic pickup culture, I guess it is sort of a feature, because in the sense that you're defending yourself psychologically and financially, I suppose, from an entire culture built around the toxic behavior of how many places can I stick my penis in as short a period of time as possible. And well, it's 2020, and that's a reversible statement at this point. I think it's pretty fair to say that women and men both participate in pickup culture. So pickup culture being toxic in and of itself, maybe this is some sort of, you know, building a wall around myself to insulate, well, building a wall around himself to insulate himself from the negative effects of being involved in that culture. After looking into it and looking through every single pseudoscientific dating site, relationship advice site, blog sites that mentioned the Sigma male, because unfortunately the Sigma male, oh wait, here's an audio clip.
Sigma male.
Coming up completely dry on any academic or peer-reviewed articles involving anything outside of alpha, beta, and even omega males, and most of them refuting humans' participation in ethology in total, because our social structure doesn't rely on survival anymore. It hasn't, since agriculture. So, you know, there's literally no attachment to animalistic social structures, except for in high-stress situations where survival is not guaranteed. Think specifically like Wild West, even though it wasn't so wild in the West, but the Wild West would be a place where ethology would factor in. During the plague, you know, if you can survive the plague, obviously you have a better chance at mating, acquiring food, what have you. But this isn't the case for Western civilization in this century or in the last century. Even during the Depression, we didn't revert back to ethology, where alpha males were able to provide for families and therefore had more wives and stuff like that. That's never happened since 1900, since before 1900 really, but since 1900, since anyone that is alive today can have a conversation about it, this has never been the case. Now granted, in pickup culture it is the case, but that's such a small subset of Western civilization that it's not even really worth mentioning. And it's really more same-sex against same-sex, not so much as a general rule for society, because anyone can exit pickup culture without any negative ramifications other than the negative ramifications of being involved in pickup culture in the first place. Obviously, the potential to get STDs, despite, you know, all of the prevention, the potential to have bunches of children that you are having to either financially support via child support, or you know, you just have like a squad of children that you're taking care of. Either way, the negative effects of pickup culture, just the act of exiting, there isn't one, so it doesn't really matter. A lot of the non-scholarly articles that mention Sigma males talk about the game, and that's really where I understand that this is about pickup culture and it's not about civilization or human nature at all, because the game is literally how many sexual partners can you get, because that's, like, you know, important to human civilization. It's not, but you know, that's what they like to think. They portray a Sigma male as sort of like an ethological Omega male, except you not only are the potential to be the Columbine shooter because you're a social outcast, but you have all the social graces and can easily take over the alpha spot. So basically, it's some sort of rationalization of trying to be the best of both worlds. Oh, I'm a rebel, Dottie. You know, that's what this really boils down to, is I want to be better than society, but I also don't want to be part of society. Now, where this becomes some sort of thing to really talk about is coming up right after this important, poignant political message.
In 2020, we're offered two lesser evils. Why choose lesser? Cthulhu 2020. Make the old ones great again. Cthulhu Fadagan. The committee to end it all.
It's full of stars.
Boy, it was sure nice to hear from a candidate that doesn't mix the truth with lies. Moving on. The common traits that all of these sites note about
Sigma males.
the Sigma male.
Sigma male.
Is that they're lone wolves, that they don't run with the pack, that they're quiet, they're distant, they're mysterious. I can't tell you how many women bloggers were blogging about how superior the Sigma male is to any other type of male to date, because they're so hard to get, because they don't really exist. That's the reality. Everything mentioned, looking at it from a perspective of psychiatric psychological research, it's all textbook narcissistic behavior. Being a lone wolf, nobody is your equal. Everyone's obviously dumber than you are. You are the best in the world. You can beat the games that people play because you don't really play them, but the minute you just walk in, you automatically ace everything. This is narcissistic behavior. Narcissists will manipulate situations to make it so that they always win. Now, there is a phrase, I never lose, I either win or I learn, and that is completely different from what happens with this type of situation. It's, I never lose, either I win or I don't participate. And by not participating, I'm giving social cues to other people who can't win the game that we're playing here, whatever that game may be, this social contest, that this is the way. And there was a group of people who did this prior to the 2015 rise of this term Sigma male.
Sigma males. Sigma male.
And we'll get to that. this is going to be a pretty long video, I see. So these antisocially social lone wolves who can exceed in social situations because they put on these fake faces and pretend to be like everybody else. There's a term for this. It's sociopath. This is what these people are. They are psychotically broken. They are insane because they have these delusions of grandeur that they are better than everybody else around them. They distance themselves because they know that if they remain mysterious, then no one can really hold them to anything. Perfect example, if you hide everything about yourself, you never look like you failed at anything, and therefore you're obviously better than everybody who failed at things. When in reality, if we look at entrepreneurship, entrepreneurs fail at things all the time and have zero problems admitting the fact that they failed more often than they succeeded. It was the fact that they never gave up that made them succeed. Someone who is a narcissist or
Sigma males
will not admit that they failed and will not even discuss what they're doing. The whole hiding your next steps is literally textbook manipulative behavior, because then you can never really be held accountable for any of the mistakes that happen along the way. You can't be held accountable for making bad choices because nobody knew you were making those choices to begin with. Then you moved on to something else, and the only thing you advertise is the things that you win. It's an unrealistic standard that you're setting, but you get away with it because you never talk about anything. Which brings us to our next part of this. I know where Sigma male really came from. I know where the whole idea came from. It's a rebranding of what happened to the men's rights activist groups. In the early 2000s, men's rights activists were working towards getting equal treatment under the law in family court for men, specifically regarding custody and child support, rational child support reform, in the sense that for the most part men are taken to the cleaners by family courts, especially when children are involved. Even in alimony cases, it's pretty abusive, and it was around that time that I'd actually gotten moderately involved with men's rights activists, trying to help people find decent attorneys that will help fight for them to get custody, and members of the men's rights activists groups that I was in were all talking about this this philosophy of going your own way. So I looked into it, and on the surface it looks very beneficial. You know, you're worried more about your personal development, being a better person, and on the surface it seemed like it was very innocuous. Men attempting to be better at, being men, not necessarily more manly men, but that was the vibe given off, and what have you. So I had joined one group and started looking into it. There were a few of my friends that were looking for help regarding men's rights, and I sort of like gravitated towards that circle, and just sat back and watched and participated in conversations regarding, you need legal advice, here's a list of lawyers that will fight like a bulldog for you to have access to your children because you're paying child support and the mother of your children is not being very cooperative. Things like that. But I noticed a trend maybe like 2 months into it, like right after the honeymoon period, I suppose, where this group of individuals moved into the group, and they were pretty disturbing. And I say this coming from the perspective of I am myself a very disturbing individual at times, but the reality is that these people, they were misogynistic, they were angry, and whether or not someone could justify why they were angry is irrelevant. Their conclusions were violent by their very nature. Generally, a lot of the sharing from these people that there was very aggressive towards women, towards anything feminine whatsoever. Oh, what you're learning how to write poetry? That sounds gay. And they literally just go off on a tear. And I made mention in the group. I was like, listen, if you're looking to deal with the court system, I've got a list of lawyers that'll help you out. Outside of that, I can't be part of this group because this group is going in a direction that I cannot abide by. And shortly thereafter, they started making news about how it's a centrally a misogynistic group, and it became that. Generally, it was just infiltrated by people who legitimately hated women. Well, the accusation is legitimate that they hated women. It's not legitimate that they hate women. Okay? So, just to be clear, I don't think it's legitimate just to hate someone because of what they are. But it's legitimate to accuse people of their actual hatred. So, now that that's been cleared up, this was the key thing, is that they kept harping on the we're going our own way. When I get involved with a woman, I'm never keeping her. I use her like a condom, and then I just jet. And this isn't what men going our own way thing was about initially. It's not what men's rights is about. And it's predatory, I guess would be the best way to put it. And the people who vacated it wisely. I mean, it's a loud majority that destroys any type of movement. A loud minority that destroys any type of movement. Basically, something that was wholeheartedly good intended turned into something really horrible really fast. Now, fast forward about, 10 years from when I was involved. Apparently that's when this whole idea of the Sigma male comes into play. And due to my extensive research on things that are not scholarly, generally there's been chatter about it since about 2015. But since 2018, particularly, it has become a very big hot topic. From damaged women who want to date bad guys that want to justify their bad guys as a personality feature, not a flaw, and the guys who latch onto this. I will tell you this right now. Basically, the same thing that happened with the incel movement prior to the angry misogynists being involved in that happened with Magto, and this is the end result. They decided, okay, well, now that this name is completely trashed and we're outed for what we really are, narcissistic men looking to abuse women and have a justification under a movement that is wholeheartedly about helping people and not hurting people, they decided to latch on to this other thing. Oh, we're the outsiders to the social dynamic of human behavior, keying up this ethological mindset, and then claiming that, well, we win the game because we're outside of the game of social interaction, and that's not how any of that works. I mean, how do you win the game of thermonuclear war? Anybody who's old enough to understand this reference, well, hats off to you for being old like me. You just don't play the game. But that's not how this works, because, you know, we're human beings, and we operate in unison, in conjunction. You may say, oh, well, I do everything on my own, but, you know, you don't do everything on your own. There's absolutely a social factor to everything that we do. You don't cut down all of your own trees, mill all of your own wood, kiln all of your own wood, build your own house, mine your own copper, smelt your copper, make your own pipes. You don't do all of that stuff. There's stuff that you buy that other people do. This is not an accredit to ethology. It's just an accredit to, well, unless you're going to live like a primitive out in the middle of the woods, you do rely on the division of labor in order to make contemporary life possible. It's just, there's a lot of wheels. You can't be all of them. No man is an island, blah, 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 blah. So with that being said, you have these emotionally stunted, probably people who are also involved in that incel movement when it turned south, who are involved with the Magto movement when it, or the cause of it turning south, in both cases. Finding another thing to attach themselves to so that they continue to justify their behavior, which is a personality disorder, and treat it like it's not. So that, in a nutshell, is the comfortable lie of the Sigma males. It's really comfortable to hide your psychological problems behind a personality feature and not seek help. And what ends up happening is you end up being a grown-ass man or woman, because there's apparently those two. Don't wanna leave those people out. Who is the emotional equivalent of a 6 to 8 year old child, who doesn't say anything, doesn't share anything, has temper tantrums when they don't get their own way, and manipulates people into doing their bidding, usually in a very narcissistic fashion, making people feel like they're inferior, feel like they're insane, when in fact the person who's really fucked up is the manipulator, the narcissist. And the fact that they don't engage in society or engage in social circles makes those in the social circles that they do engage with feel better, because these people have this sense of superiority about them, which is a feature of, well, a feature of narcissistic behavior, a sense that you are above everybody else. And that's the tool that they use to make everyone else just up and agree with them about how the target person is insane. This is very classic, very well documented. You can go and look at peer-reviewed psychiatric journals on narcissistic behavior, and you can just check mark right through everything that everyone says about a Sigma male is everything every doctor and doctorate thesis paper peer-reviewed by psychiatrists and psychologists as narcissistic behavior. And there you go. That's the truth. Enjoy your comfortable lie, guys, that Sigma male is some sort of superpowered human being. The reality is that you're just a sorry sack of shit omega male who puts on this big giant mask of a big alpha male to try and get laid more often. I mean, I guess it works, but it's still fucking shitty. Ta-da!